I don't want to talk a lot about Europe. I want to talk more about us and the United States and what all this means to us and why it's an American national security issue. But it seems like Europe, with all deliberate mindfulness, has chosen to embrace that thing that hates them. It's obviously committing suicide in every possible way. And now we're seeing President Macron, who, was that a great video, by the way, on the plane? Just saying, is calling for a two-state solution, which, as we've just heard, is completely preposterous, and not because Israel is problematic, but because Israel is everything evil to them, and they've committed to wiping it off the face of the earth. Anything about, it's really difficult as someone who loves various countries in Europe deeply. What is going on there? Are they, it's Islamophobia phobia or something. Any idea what they're doing?
Look, it's submission.
It's submission.
That's the literal meaning of the word Islam. They are submitting. Not all of them, but the vast majority, certainly their governments are. And as these guys can tell you better than I, this is the trajectory we're on. We're just not quite as far along, thank God, on it, but it's the same playbook.
Yeah.
And when you look at what they're doing in response to the rising aggressiveness of, yes, Sharia supremacists, many of them imported, thanks to the Turks, by the millions from countries all over that map. You see the pattern of how the non-Muslim world is supposed to behave in the face of the power and the authority and the jihad of Islam. And again, Karen, I think it's really important that we talk about that, because you can watch it in action. And Macron is just one of those who is calling for submission. And I think it's fair to say, and I would defer to these guys, but my guess is that more than one of the countries you love, and many of us love, is at the cusp of civil strife on a massive scale, and quite possibly civil war.
Yeah.
As people finally, with their backs against the wall, non-Muslims, resist. But it will not be thanks to the leadership of their governments, I don't think, because most of the people who might resist are not being allowed to be in the government.
That's right.
Did you want to comment on any of that?
Well, another factor is money. You know, we mentioned Qatar recently. Prince Charles, back when he was still prince, was caught with £1 million, I believe it was £1 million, in a suitcase from Qatar. That's the level of vulgarity. You know, we're worried about the Qataris now buying up the United States. We're worried about them, by the way, having a presence in Beverly Hills for a very local issue. The presence that they have in England, in France, is mind-blowing. It is beyond that. They got in through oil companies, just the way they did with us, but they have been buying up real estate. They've been buying up politicians. They bought the King of England, for goodness sake. They're just able to hand out money to corrupt everybody because they simply are very corruptible, and that's something that's been a major problem for Europe. And of course, they're also terrified. They decided that the best way to avoid Islamic terrorism is to sell out Israel. There's two kinds of diplomacy. One kind of diplomacy is saying nice doggy until you find a stick. They've gone the other way. It's the feeding somebody else to the crocodile in the hopes that he'll eat you last. And there was at some point where European diplomacy was still nice doggy. Now it's strictly feeding the crocodile.